Hi, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us for H3 TV, where we spread hope, health, and happiness. I'm super excited today because I am joining you for the first time from my new home in Fort Myers Beach, Florida. And I'm excited to be here. And I had to put on the Florida blue. This is kind of Florida blue. And then, of course, my signature pineapple. And then Carrie jumps on and she's got the same color with some yellow. So we are just in sync, spreading happiness today.
Yes.
So we bring you H3 TV because we know there's people out there struggling with hope. We're struggling with health, struggling with happiness. And it is really our joy to spread encouragement and to spread hope, health, and happiness. So I try to be here every Wednesday, and hopefully you're joining us over your lunch hour, taking a little break for a little you time where you can just listen to some encouragement, some health, and some hope. But today, Carrie V is joining us, and she is going to share with us some stuff about happiness. So Carrie, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? Where do you live?
I am Carrie V. That's my name on Instagram, so we'll just go with it. I am Carrie V. I'm in upstate New York where it was there I'm looking out my window. There was ice coming out of the sky today. So I put on the Florida blue and yellow to make me feel warm because it is not warm out there anymore. Winter has arrived. I am a motivational speaker. I'm a coach. I am a podcast host, an author. I love to pour into you. And my focus right now is helping women over 50 break generational trauma. And happiness is a huge, huge part of that.
I love that,
Yeah.
Carrie. Actually, I was
Thanks.
on the phone this morning. I'm super grateful. It is not cold here. It is going to be 84 degrees. I've already done
Oh,
2 beach walks and swam 10 laps. I'm just like,
oh my
this
gosh.
is where everyone should live. Everybody's happy. But I was talking to my sister this morning, one of my 4 older sisters, and we were talking specifically about that, about generational trauma and how do we
Yeah.
pray and plan and prepare our kids for the next generation to break
Yes.
some of the things that don't serve them. So I love that. I
Yeah.
love the work you do. It's so good
Thank
and so
you.
important. So thank you for
Thank
doing
you.
that. So I want
Thank
to
you.
talk to you today about what are 5 of your keys to staying happy? How do you stay happy? We know people struggle with happiness. We know some
Yes.
people are happy more often than not. But how
Yeah.
about you? What are your 5 keys, Carrie, to staying happy? Happy. Sorry.
Yeah. I was thinking about this question last night. I was kind of taking notes, and in the book that I just wrote, there is an entire chapter on happiness. And it starts with reading the word ha out loud over and over again, just cascading ha, 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. And by the time you get to the end of reading these ha ha's out loud, you are laughing out loud. I mean, remember the game we played as kids? I did anyway. I would say ha, you would say ha ha. I would be required to say ha ha ha, you would be required to go ha 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 ha. And eventually you're laughing, even if you started out in a bad mood. So that's my first key is smile. Because we literally can trick our brains, even if we're not feeling the happiness. We can trick our brain into feeling the happiness simply by smiling. Our brain picks it up. If we're smiling, it goes, oh, wait, she's happy or he's happy. Oh, okay, we're happy. That smile does everything. And it's something my dad always, always taught us as children growing up that even in the worst of situations, you could find a moment of happiness, you could find a moment of joy, even if it was a memory that you were picking up. So when my grandmother died, his mom, I remember him sitting in a chair outside the house while we were cleaning out the house, and he was in charge of the dumpster, of making sure we didn't put anything in the dumpster that actually didn't go in the dumpster, because there were a lot of people in that house cleaning out the house. And at one point I came out and I said, Dad, I'm cleaning out the china closet, and I feel like my mom should just be walking into the room at any moment, getting ready to set the table. And he looked at me and he nodded and he goes, well, I'll tell you what, if that happens, I'm running up that hill. And we both just started laughing in the midst of a very sad time. And I told him later, I said, Dad, I really needed that laughter at that moment. He said, I know. And so that's the first key is smile and think of a memory that will bring the laughter in, even in a hard time, because this moment will pass. This moment will pass. And we get so caught up in the present moment of sadness that we forget that this too shall pass. It will. And if we can bring that happiness in, that was something he always taught to me, even when my brother died, his firstborn son, the child that was named after him, he was a junior. When my brother died, I remember him bringing laughter into the house, even amidst the grief. And it was something that I really keyed into to find. My dad always had a smile on his face. He just was an amazing person. My mom too. And number 2, understanding that success follows laughter and happiness and not the other way around. And we hear it taught the other way around all the time. That, once I get successful, I'll be so happy. I'll have time to be happy. And it's backwards. The happiness and the laughter brings the success. When I started working with a business coach, and we went over, we worked together for a couple of months, and then she sat me down one day, we're on Zoom, and she said, okay, so I've finally been able to really diagnose what's going on here. And I said, what's that, Kayla? And she said, you don't have enough fun. You don't have fun. You spend so much time working and so little time having fun. Your business is not going to scale. You don't create the pockets of fun. She said, stop every day for an hour and watch something funny on TV or create laughter. Get up and dance. I don't care what you do, but have fun. And then in the evening, when you turn off, or the late afternoon, whenever you decide work is done, you're done. You don't go back to get one more thing done. Yeah. Just create the fun. Create the fun. The fun comes first. The success comes after in all areas. Number 3, move every single day. So you're going to understand this too shall pass. Understand that the laughter comes before the success. So that's another key to staying happy. And then move every day. So you just said that you swam how many laps?
Only 10 laps, and I am not much of a swimmer, so I hate
only 10.
I'm like side stroke and backstroke because I got the breathing challenge with running and swimming, but it felt so invigorating to come back from a walk and go swim, and I feel like already my skin's like, yay, Annie, I'm so happy. So
yes.
Are we losing you, Carrie? Your frame is kind of blurred.
No.
Can you see that? There.
I'm clear on my end. Let me try something.
Okay.
It's probably going to cut out and come right back in.
Okay. I love that you're talking about starting your day with laughter, starting your day with care, starting your day with movement. I mean, I always try to walk in the morning, but now it's one walk for the dogs, one walk for me. And then a couple days a week, I'm going to try and swim. Today's my first day. There you are. You're back clear. All right. So what's number 4? What's your number 4 that you have?
Number 4
is movement was number 3. I love that.
Yes. Yes. And then number 4 is watch or read something daily that is funny. Just funny. It doesn't always have to be a serious personal development book or a serious, I mean, we get taught that. I was actually told one time, don't waste your time reading novels. And then Sean Stevenson wrote a book and he was like, you need to read novels to grow your brain. I was like, hallelujah. Sean gave me the go ahead to read something every single day that makes me laugh or watch something. And number 5 is just stop working so dang much. Chill out. Chill out. The first in, last out methodology that has been taught for so many years isn't serving you. It's making you sick. It's making you stressed out. And it is not getting you ahead. It's wearing you down. Chill out.
Yeah, I love that. I love all your ideas. I really like, and I think you're the first person to talk about it. I've had a lot of people talk about their ideas on happiness, and I love all the different ideas. But I really love success comes after laughter and happiness. I think people take them. I mean, I am such a dork and in so many ways, and I embrace my dorkiness. And sometimes people are like, do you realize like people are laughing at you? I'm like, I don't care. I'm laughing at me and I'm having a good time doing it. But I know that when I decided to live with more happiness and joy in my life, more success, people were drawn into that. Like, why are you always happy? And I'm like, smile so much that you make them wonder. What is going on with you? What's your secret? And I'm like, you know what? I love to smile. I love to look at people that look grumpy and smile at them and they're like, what's up with you? But I love that you reminded people success comes after the laughter and the joy. I think people hold their breath literally and figuratively like, I just one more day of doing it all. Okay, I'm just going to work 12 more hours. Okay, I'm just going to do, and they're so exhausted and burnt out, which not only is not good for us, but it doesn't draw people to us. I always thought about, I've kind of always been in sales, sometimes by accident, sometimes just the nature of being a motivational speaker. Yeah. As you're always just selling yourself. But when you don't feel like you're selling, when you just feel like I'm having fun, people are drawn into that. When you can get the sale by pressure sales, but you will not get a long-term relationship and you won't get those referrals. So I tell people, be careful, pressure selling, never sell out of fear, always sell out of joy. And the right sales will come at the right time. And people will say no to me all the time. I'm like, only reason I'm great at sales, I'm great at rejection, right? Like we realize
I love that.
Fun, right? I love that,
Yes.
Carrie. I love what you're
Yes.
saying, and I love you
Thank
reminding
you.
people. And what a beautiful, beautiful, what a blessed woman you are to have a dad like that.
Mhm.
What a beautiful
Oh,
example that in the
yes.
midst of horrific pain, pain that whole, I think a lot of people say the greatest fear in their life is to lose a child, and to
Yeah.
lose a child and still find joy. And not
Yes.
only, sometimes when someone loses a family member, they lose their joy,
Yeah.
and the other kids are so affected that they feel like, what about
Yes.
me? And I love
Yes.
that your dad, in the midst of his grief and pain, not
Yeah.
ignoring it,
Yeah.
acknowledging, still found
Yes.
laughter and joy and was able to spread it to
Yeah.
you. So what a beautiful thing.
Yes.
Great
Yeah.
examples. And we know
Yeah.
that life
Yes.
gets hard. And maybe you've already answered this with your five,
Mhm.
because you've got some really great tools in your toolbox, which that's what we're here to do, is give you guys some tools. Get out there and
Yeah.
laugh, move your body. Some
Yeah.
some success comes later. But when you are having a hard day, Carrie, when
Yeah.
you are really feeling stuck, and sometimes we get so stuck that we can't remember our own wisdom and knowledge. What do you
Yes.
do in that point when you're having that moment that is challenging? What do you do
Yeah.
to say, okay, I'm going to get out, but I don't have the energy to read or to move? What's kind of your go-to or your snap to, like one thing that's simple that somebody that is struggling right now could do?
Yeah. Boy, that's such a great question because this year has been one of my most challenging ever, and I'm no stranger to loss, but this year, I mean, in less than 10 months, I've had a cancer diagnosis, a genetic genetic disorder diagnosis. I've had COVID. Then my mother was diagnosed with the same two things, and then she died 19 days after her diagnosis in May. It has been a year where it's been hard to find happiness and joy. And so it became essential to create it, even on the days that I really didn't feel like it, and I would say that was the bulk of my year. It was
Yeah.
hard, really hard to find something to laugh at. It comes from inside. So you know the saying, "The time to ask for a map is not when you're lost in the woods."
Yes.
The time to work on finding joy and happiness internally is not when you get to the hard time. That prep work comes when times are good. That prep work comes from finding the happiness and creating happiness in your life when your life doesn't feel like it's falling apart. And then when it does feel like it's falling apart, that tool chest is there and it becomes much easier to open. It is definitely an inside job. And sometimes it was as simple as walking outside and putting my feet in the grass,
Mhm.
or picking up something of my mom's and holding it close to me, which, yes, brought tears, but those tears, as they washed down my face, also brought a smile with the memory of what it was. So finding it in the hard times, it just happens when you have prepared yourself in the good times. Get your map now. Start practicing joy and happiness now, because the disasters are going to hit. It's part of life. And it's not, I don't mean to be pessimistic and walk on waiting for the shoe to drop, but life does happen for us.
Yeah.
And we get to put all this stuff into play, into practice.
That's right. There's always challenges. I love that.
Yeah.
I always, one of my things I like to encourage people is get 10 things in your toolbox, because exactly
Yeah.
like you said,
Oh,
make
yes.
sure you have your toolbox prepared for those days when you can't
Yeah.
think about what you need. I so appreciate you being authentic and vulnerable with our audience and sharing some of your story and your family story.
Mm,
I think
thank you.
people can look at us, Carrie, especially if we have an online presence and we're involved in social media, and go, oh my gosh, Carrie V, her life is so easy. Look at her. She's beautiful. She's happy. I bet she doesn't have any struggles. And I think people do sit at home and look
Yeah.
at social media and think
Yep.
those people have it all together. And I think it's so
Yeah.
important to be authentic and vulnerable and say, no, we don't. We have
Yes.
struggles and we have challenges and we have pain, deep pain,
Yes.
but we
Yes.
have a plan. And we're not going to
Yes.
let pain steal our life. We're not going to fall in love
Exactly.
with the pain of life and the misery and the grief
Yeah.
that can consume us, can consume anyone.
Yes.
And so I think those are really important things. I just want to reiterate is prepare before you need to, right? You say, get the
Yes.
map,
Yes.
fill your
Yeah.
toolbox, and also know that when you look at beautiful people on social media, and I'm not talking about people that are just taking pictures, but people that look like that have their business, know that they
Yeah.
are struggling too, but maybe
Yes.
they have prepared ahead of time. And that doesn't mean they don't have hard days. It means that when they're in their hard day, they remind themselves, I'm not going to stay stuck here, but I'm going to let myself be sad. I'm going to remember
Yes.
my mom and miss her, but I'm also going to, whatever your story is, right?
Yes. Yeah.
My mother's in beautiful moment today. I've been praying for her all morning on my mind. She is
Oh.
meeting this afternoon her birth daughter that she placed 59 years ago and never told anyone about. And so
I
I
have
just met
God
my new
bumps.
sister
Wow.
in January, and it's a healing piece of her journey. You know, it's been that
Yes.
wounding for both of them in a way, and now they get to reunite today. So I'm just my new sister's moving
Yes.
from or flying from Florida to California to meet my mom, and I think
Oh,
all those moments and those memories, Carrie, when you talk about your mom and you
yeah.
think about like you're holding something,
Yeah.
it's very powerful, right? It's a
Yeah, it
very
is.
powerful,
It
in the
is.
best and worst of circumstances, there's some
Yes.
really beauty in that. So I love that. Thank you.
Yes.
So you already
Yeah.
kind of touched on happiness. Is it inside or outside job? You know, sometimes people say it's, well, you don't understand. I have a hard life. So how can I be happy? Or, oh my gosh, of course I'm happy. I have a beautiful home. So I think I always want to know, what do you think about that, Carrie? Especially when you're
Yeah.
speaking or working with a client and they're saying, well, I
Mhm.
can't be happy because, and they have their story. Tell us what you think about happiness inside and out.
Yeah, I think we are taught that happiness is dependent. I can remember being taught that happiness was dependent upon your circumstances, but joy, you could always have joy. I just I just want to debunk that. Okay. I really believe joy is a state of being. It's a state that you live in, but you can choose to have happiness no matter what is going on in your life. It is 100% a choice. There are people who, okay, so I use the apostle Paul. He was in prison being tortured and he would get up every day singing. He chose happiness. He chose to live in a state of joy, and he was in stinking prison, and it's not like prison today where you have TV and a weight room. I mean, it was you didn't eat unless people brought you know, like family or friends brought you food. That's how you got food. You didn't get 3 squares a day. It was a very different thing. You can choose. The Viktor Frankl in his book was in prison and maintained his happiness by visualizing what his future was going to look like when he was out of that prison camp. There are examples all over the place of choosing happiness despite what is going on. And I mean, I've buried a brother, and my dad and my mom, my grandmother. I've got my own cancer and diagnosis, my Lynch syndrome diagnosis that puts me at this super increased risk of cancer. I could sit in a chair and be depressed all day and wait for the cancer to come back. But I'm alive today. And if I'm alive and I'm breathing, I get to choose to laugh. And we all do. So when I have someone, I have a client who says, "You don't understand my life," I'm like, "Hey, go ahead, tell me. You have 5 minutes to complain. And then we're turning the switch because, I'll give you that 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Lay it all out there. So talk fast. But then I'm going to show you how you can flip that switch, have a happiness switch. Put put it on one of your light switches in the house, write happiness and use it as a visual happiness switch. You can turn it on and off. How many times have we been angry about something or we're sad and the phone rings and we go, "Hi," right? We've all seen it. We can choose it. We just choose not to most of the
We've
time.
all seen it and a lot of us have done it. So we do know
Oh,
that.
I'm, I've, I've done it. I'll double hand that one.
And
Absolutely.
I tend to be one of those. Somebody told me along the way, joy comes from Jesus and happiness comes from the circumstance around you. So if you need to debunk it, you debunk it. For me, I always think, and Apostle Paul's a great example of, being in a physical dungeon in life, let alone an emotional dumpster, and having that darkness in his life and choosing to sing and choosing joy. And it's been amazing. I've been blessed to meet so many people in my life that have had horrible tragedies, but that have chosen happiness, chosen joy,
Yeah.
decided, you know what, I don't want to let this painful moment. And
Yes.
really, from our darkness, from our struggles of bearing, I've also buried a brother and a nephew, and
I'm so
my
sorry.
dad, my father-in-law. But sometimes those burdens, if we choose to let them, become this tool that teaches us compassion and empathy
Yes.
and love for other people that are hurting and struggling. And
Yeah.
so I love that. Um,
Yeah.
so what steals your happiness? What are the things that steal your happiness? Is there anything, or are you pretty focused on, hey, I'm going to be happy. I might have moments. And you're right. I love that you give
Oh,
your clients 5 minutes. That cracks me up because I think it's okay to complain a little bit and vent,
oh,
but then
yeah.
let's get on with it. Let's move
Yes.
out of that place. Yeah.
Yes. When we vent and we're getting it out there, we're putting the problem out there so that we can start to find a solution. So I love the wording of what steals my happiness. Nothing can steal your happiness. You have to give it away. You choose to
Mhm.
give it away or you choose to accept it, but no one can steal it from you. They can only
Mhm.
take it out of your hands if you open them up and let them take it.
Mm.
But I have given my happiness away many, many, many times. It's part
Mhm.
of my journey into who I am now and where I am now. Nobody's perfect, and oh my gosh, it's working in corporate America for bosses that were just horrible, and I gave my happiness to them. I was miserable.
Mm.
All I did was complain day in and day out. And I
Mm.
just remember my husband saying one day, "Gosh, you're not the woman I married. You never used to complain like this." And I was like, "Ah, wow, that hurt.
Yeah,
Wow, that hurt."
awaken. Yeah.
Yes, but nobody stole my happiness from me. I willingly gave it away.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
good.
Mhm.
The 2 things I think about when I think about stealing happiness, and you're right, giving it away is more appropriate, but when my brother died, I remember the priest saying, "Don't fall in love with the pain." And I thought it was the weirdest thing,
Ah,
yet it would just ring true because I kind of fell in love with the pain
yes.
of the suffering of why should I go on if he doesn't get to go on, and why should
Yeah.
life go on? And now I think he never got to know that life got better. I mean, he was only 22 when he took his life,
Wow, I'm
and
so
he never got
sorry.
to know, and I always think now I think in 2015, I decided, no, no, I am not going to be in love with the pain anymore. I'm going to live twice, once for me and once for him, because
Oh,
he didn't get to live that. And I placed a daughter for adoption, and
wow.
we don't have a relationship, and it sometimes steals my joy, or I would say, but I think I'm giving it away. And just recently, I talked to a good friend, and she said, just don't have expectations, Annie. If someday
Yeah.
you have a reunion and a good relationship, beautiful. And if you never do, that's not you don't have control over that. And I'm like, okay.
Yes.
And so I think you're right. It's like when you decide to stop giving it away to pain, because tragedy happens and pain happens and
Yes.
suffering, but we still have a choice. I can leave that job of a negative boss. Don't do it right away
Yes.
if you don't have a plan. I'm not encouraging
That's
that.
right. Yes, yes,
So
yes.
have a plan.
Caveat.
I don't want you to be broke, but you don't have to stay in that. And there are a lot of job openings. And in my years, many years of working, I had 2 bad bosses, and I always think like, why? What was their insecurity that they had to be mean to me? But I'm so grateful to work for myself today. And sometimes I'm a great boss, and sometimes I'm a hard on myself boss, but I'm happy to work for myself. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
does your home or your career bring you more happiness, or what brings you happiness at home and your career? How about that rather than a
Okay.
comparison? Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna answer that, but I wanted to throw one thing in. You're talking about your daughter. I have 4 children that, a divorce 18 years ago was very, very hard on them, and I don't have a good relationship with any of them. It is heartbreaking. It is something that I could give away my happiness and joy to over and over again every day.
Yeah.
But I decided to get up every day and thank God that I'm one day closer to reconciliation. And just
Mm,
that one thing
mm,
sets the tone for a beautiful day. Instead of sitting in that pain, it's like, thank you that we're one day closer to reconciliation and we move on because it's out of my
mm.
control.
Yes.
Okay. So
I love
this
that. Thank you
question,
for that.
you're
I felt
welcome.
that I prayed for that, and I felt that on the beach this morning. I thought, my mother's daughter, my sister, is 59 years old. She has waited 60 years to get to meet this little girl she
Mm,
brought in the world. And she has had a lot of sadness about it that she didn't always talk about and rarely talks
yeah.
about. But I have a
Yeah.
32-year-old daughter. She just turned 32 that I don't have a relationship. And I think that. I think, you know what? There's still time. And I love that.
Yes.
Every day you're grateful for one day closer to
One
rec.
day.
I love that. And I'm going to pray that for you, Carrie, that your 4 kids
Thank you.
see what a beautiful woman you are,
Thank
and
you.
and have that perspective that they might not understand. Of course, when there's a break or an adoption, it
Yes.
can be complicated. People get wounded, and they
Yes.
don't get to see everyone's perspective. So I'm just going to pray that for you. But
Yeah.
I
Thank
am one
you.
day closer to reconciliation. That is an awesome prayer. That's cool. All right.
I'm
Thank
praying
you for,
that for you. You're welcome.
yeah.
Okay, home or career, what brings me happiness in each? Is that's the question,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, in my career, happiness builds exponentially when I got a message from someone yesterday who had just bought my book, and she was just her voice message was, "You, it is changing my life. Thank you so much for writing this book." And it just that made me I was literally dancing. It brought me so much joy, not because she's putting accolades on me, but because by me following the path that I really felt God wanted me on, it is the fingers of it are reaching out and touching people, and that just makes me so happy. If I can help one woman step into her power and and rise up to be who she was created to be, I am so happy. At home, it is by far when it is time for the day to settle down and I am with my husband. We're either taking a walk or we go to the movies or we're sitting at the table. Sometimes we just sit at the table and talk for 3 hours. That is it is such a joy to just have that time with him. Planning trips. We've just planned a cross country trip in April. We'll probably be gone for 2 months, all the way across the country, down the California coast, back over to Route 66 and back up. And it's like we've waited 20 years for this. And that just making those plans is just brings a lot of joy and happiness to me.
I love that. You are my soul sister, Carrie V. A lot of people think they are my soul sister, but I feel you. I
Yeah,
had the privilege to
I feel
speak
it too.
last Tuesday, and I do these comment cards, and I just have a stack of them. And I start crying reading people's comments yesterday because they're saying, I'm really going to take care of myself. And you made me think about this. And I wanted to give up on my clients and I'm not going to. It was mostly like social services and social workers and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here crying because I'm so proud of them. And then I'm clapping for them at my desk. So I have to write the
Yes.
organizer. I'm like, I just want you to know, you have an amazing team. I'm still cheering on these people. And I think when we know that our work, that we answered a call to do the work we were meant to do, which you're doing. And then when we look and we recognize it's making a difference in someone else's life. And I always say, I don't change your life. And they'll say, yeah, no, I invite you to change your life. And if you do the work by our reading, by our speaking, we're helping people. And that gives your life so much more meaning, to get out of bed and know my words, my speaking, my writing, just like you is touching lives. And we're helping people expand where they feel stuck. Where they feel stuck or narrow or hopeless, that there's another chapter waiting for them to go travel. I love your travel the world with your husband and sit and sometimes we call it wine at 9. It doesn't have to be a glass of wine, but it's that reconnect time to have conversation, not necessarily with the TV or computer, but with each other. And I just love that so much. And Facebook popped up today, the friend anniversary of my husband and I. 13 years we've been friends on Facebook, but it was all these photos of memories of travel and meals and family and friends. And I love that you are investing in your marriage and in each other to go travel for 2 months because we can, because we work for ourselves. When we moved to Florida, people are like, why now? And I'm like, the beach has been calling me for 30 years. Now's the right time for us. Right. And I'm just cheering you on that you're going to take a 2-month trip to invest in each other and travel and see the world together and celebrate being alive in the good moments in the midst of not easy, but life, right? The journey. So what else do you want to share about happiness? Do you have a story? Do you have anything else you want to tell us about happiness?
I'm going to say, seize those happy moments in the day. I just had a conversation with, I have a gentleman that I meet, we meet every week. We call each other our PPP, peak performance partners. And we were talking about happiness. And I said, how many times have you put happiness off because we've been taught work first, play later. I was taught that from the time I was a little girl. I'm going to debunk that one too. Make breaks in your day for happiness. Like right now it's beautiful and sunny. I will probably take the dog for a quick walk because in an hour it might be cloudy. And in the past, I have waited, and then it's dark or we're having a rainstorm or the weather has changed. The moment has left. Seize every moment. If your body is saying, hey, I need a 20-minute nap, take it. Really, take it. When I worked corporate, I would go out in my car and I'd say, hey, I need a break. And I'd go in the car and I'd put my head back and take a nap. If they didn't like it, they could fire me. It was just the way I felt. It was time for me to start taking care of me. And that meant making pockets of time for happiness. So don't wait for the sun to go away. Create the fun now, right now.
Yeah. I love that. I really love the mental health moments, reminding people take a moment for yourself. You're worth it. Even if your boss doesn't know it, even if your family doesn't know it, your friends, take a moment for yourself.
Yes.
And whether that means closing your eyes or going for a walk or going swimming or whatever it is, just take a moment. I love that reminder, and just to take it now. Don't wait, because we don't know, and moments pass. And I think when you do start to lose a lot of people young, you recognize how precious life is. And so I don't get to take it for granted. Now's the time. And will I live in Florida across the street from the beach for the rest of my life? I don't know. But for today, I get to do that.
Today I do.
Right. Go for a walk. And even if it's 10 minutes, so what? You decide and you do it and you jump into it and you don't wait. And I love that, Carrie. I think that's a really important message for our listeners. Please don't wait. Take care of yourself, take moments, take times, plan things, but look for that happiness in the little and big things of life. It exists, even in the hard stuff. And so, Carrie, you have been just a delight to be with this morning, even though I don't know what time zone I'm in or where I'm going. But I'm so happy that you're helping me stay on track. But how do people get a hold of you if they want you to come out and speak, or they want to read your book, or they want to find more? Do you have a website? What do you have? Tell us a little bit about how to get a hold of you.
I would say the easiest way, my website is Coach Carrie V, with just the letter V, not the two E's, coachcarriev.com. And you will find all my social medias in there, the links to the book, how to book me for speaking. It's all in one neat little place. And the website is beautiful. No, I did not create it. That would not have made me happy at all. I handed all that off. So it's easy to navigate, coachcarriev.com. And thank you so much, Annie.
You're welcome. I think that's a good point too, Carrie. We also know our strengths and our weaknesses. Yes. We are not techie people, but we figure it out. We get there, but that's not our happiness. And Carrie, I'm going to have her add her links and whatever. I'm going to share this on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube, and feel free to share questions for Carrie or I on how to stay happy or what you're struggling with, or to even share with us how you're celebrating. How are you seeking happiness every day, staying happy, living happy in the midst of this journey called life that has lots of ups and downs in it. We just love spreading happiness. So thanks so much for being with us, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Carrie.
Thank you.